Hey, how are you doing, girl? It's Miguel. Hooray! Hooray! All right. How are you doing, girl? So today is the 28th of October, 2018, and I'm just here to say hello. So, wow, it's the 28th of October. Halloween will be here soon. That's pretty exciting. It's one of my favorite holidays. Not the most favorite, but one of my favorite holidays. And I am dressed up a little bit right now. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got some white hair coloring here along the side, and I've got one over here on this side too. And in fact, I've got some zombie pants on, but you can't tell. They're basically just ripped jeans. And I'll be wearing these today as a little bit of dress up as we go into the Halloween week. And what's great about Halloween, I've mentioned this before, is that Halloween, you can celebrate it like weeks and weeks before and maybe even after the holiday. And it's perfectly okay. And I love that about Halloween because you can change up your dress. It's kind of neat from a fashion standpoint. I don't know if you've ever considered it, but you can go at least around this season. You can go outside your boundaries a little bit when it comes to where you're willing to go with your dress, with your clothes, like your shirts and your makeup and things like that. So that's pretty exciting, right? You can do some lots of neat stuff. By the way, about a week ago, I went shopping at a secondhand store and I picked up some hats. So I've got a haul of Halloween hats that I wanted to show you. And so let's widen out here and let me show you what I got. So one thing I got was this fun pirate hat. Check this out. Is that cute or what? Oh man, I just thought it was so cute I had to keep it. Now there were pirate hats at the Goodwill that I went to that were kind of scary, and I was like, oh man, I'm not into that. I'm not into scary pirates. I like funny, funky pirates. So there's my pirate hat. And then I also picked up this really interesting hat. This is a top hat that I think that I can use for Thanksgiving, and I can use it for Christmas. So what do you think about that? Isn't that kind of neat? So I like that. I can use that for Christmas or Thanksgiving. And then I got another hat. Here we go. And check this one out. This is a fanciful hat. It's my wizard's cap. Oh, it's hard to show because it's so tall, but it's got a star at the top and then a moon and then another star, and it's got this really cool frill. I feel like Dumbledore in it. Oh, it's even got another moon there. Oh, and a different color star. So isn't that cool? Now, speaking of Dumbledore, I'll just wear this. What I've been reading lately, because of the season, the Halloween season, I've been reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm reading it with ebooks, with my ebook on my Kindle, and I'm also reading it as an audiobook. I went to the library and I picked up some the audiobook version. That's the version that I sent to you, remember, as a gift. And I just finished the audiobook last night, so that's pretty excited. And recently I also watched the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie for like the second or third time. And so I'm excited about Harry Potter right now after reading the book. I haven't finished reading the book, but I did finish reading the audiobook and seeing the movie. So I'm like all into Harry Potter right now. And so, just letting you know, if you ever want to have a conversation about Harry Potter, if you want to talk about how it's influenced you, or if you want to talk about the story, I am totally into it. I'm really thinking that, at least for today, Harry Potter is the new book of wisdom literature. And so I'm curious about the philosophical underpinnings of it, the ethical underpinnings of it, and what it means to live a magical life. And so, hey, if you're interested in talking about any of these subjects, I'd be interested in having that conversation. All right, I'll take this off now. So let's move this back. All right, very good. So let's see, what's on my mind lately? Well, Harry Potter's been on my mind. I just finished the book yesterday. And I've actually been thinking about going to Universal Studios, going to Diagon Alley in Los Angeles, and checking out the Harry Potter theme over there. And then, of course, there's the Halloween theme at Disneyland. And so I'm thinking about going to Disneyland too. I mentioned this earlier. I've actually already got a ticket for Disneyland, and I'll be going between now and I don't know, the end of the year. And here's the thing too, there's another thing. Oh, well, I got my ticket already. I'll be going. Oh, yeah. So I was thinking about perhaps going this week, but I don't know, maybe I will toward the end of the week. I'll go to Disneyland, which means I probably should do some walking, do some training to do all that walking, right? So anyway, I got all kinds of ideas. I'm bursting at the seams with ideas about what to do in the world, right? Okay, so let's get back to Peaceful Living by Mary McKenzie. It's October 28th. And let's see what Mary McKenzie has to say today, this October 28th. The quote is by Amity Buxton. Make today something you'll want to remember tomorrow. And the subtitle of Mary McKenzie's package is Loving Your Body. Are you frustrated with your physical appearance, weight, or choice of foods? Rather than expend energy beating up on yourself about these things, consider looking at the needs you meet by looking and behaving this way. Remember, every action is an attempt to meet a need. If you are eating more than your body requires, what need do you think you are trying to meet? For me, overeating meets my need for predictability because it is a behavior I've had for my entire life. And relief because the focus on food keeps me from experiencing my feelings to their fullest extent. There's part of me that thinks that overeating also meets my needs for ease and protection, but I know deep down that this is an illusion. My need for ease is met when I buy high-calorie fast foods because I spend little time preparing meals. On the other hand, it is not met when my body has to work harder to function or when I shop for clothes. Similarly, my need for protection is not met when my health is in danger. Other needs that are not met when I overeat are self-respect, love for my body, health, fun, intimacy, hope, and many others. If you'd like to change your eating habits, consider focusing on your needs. The next time you're tempted to order a burger and fries instead of a salad, consider what needs you are trying to meet with the burger and fries. Then ask yourself whether there is a healthier strategy you can use to meet that need. If you need relief, consider other ways to achieve it. Call a friend to talk about a troubling issue, take a long bath, go to the gym to work out, or take a nap. Once you trust that you have a new strategy to meet your need for relief, then consider whether you are willing to order the salad. It takes time to change a lifelong habit. Rarely does it happen overnight. If you have been struggling with your weight for a long time, one of the most loving things you can do is connect with yourself. Notice your feelings and empathize with the needs you are trying to meet, and give yourself the luxury of time. And the thought for the day is, be aware today of the needs you are trying to meet with your eating patterns. Well, I have seen Mary McKenzie, and indeed she is overweight, and and I have a sense that she's trying to shoehorn this NVC and meeting needs idea into her and managing weight, her issues with managing weight, and that's perfectly fine. That makes a lot of sense. But my suggestion is that it's the food environment that she's in, the cultural environment, and I guess what I'm suggesting is that part of the reason, I mean, might be needs and what needs she's meeting and not meeting. But really, our food environment right now in our culture is really a problem. We have a lot of calorie dense food. You know? Why? Because our brains enjoy calorie dense food. You know? We, for hundreds of thousands of years, we've had very low calorie density foods available to us, and our brain is continuously hunting for higher calorie density foods because that was a winning strategy, right? Over the tens of thousands of years. Well, of course, that's different now. With food scientists and the ease we have, the technological ease we've created, and agriculture, we can have as much food as we want at any time we want. And so it's tripping up our brains a little bit. So, I sympathize with Mary in being in an overweight state in this food environment. It's really rough. It's rough for everybody. Now, I manage my weight using calorie counting. And, for me, it's like a scientific engineering, thermodynamic type relationship. So it's really just math, right? And it's only math because that's how I've been trained to look at the world, right? As I was going to college. And so for me, it's natural, right? It's about measuring the gas you put in your gas tank. And so I do. Now, for Mary, it's it's fine to analyze your needs, but there are other considerations. you know, Poor Mary. I can see from this particular passage that she's really struggling with her weight, trying to understand it. She's confused. She's suffering. There's loss. She's noticing losses in her relationships. And she even is taking it out on herself, saying that her need for self-respect is not met. And so, this is a lot of sadness in this passage. That's what I'm reading into this passage. And really it comes down to chemistry. It's pretty indifferent. It's a neutral thing. It's just about adding the right it's just like chemistry, where you're adding just as much water as the solution needs, just as much of the macronutrients, and you measure all these things in graduated cylinders and Erlenmeyer flasks, and so that's all you are, is a chemical reaction, and you want to make sure that this chemical reaction is, Now, actually, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about food. I try to spend as little time thinking about it as possible. I try to eat whole foods that are at my calorie target, and that's basically my rule. So, and sometimes I don't eat whole foods. Sometimes I have ice cream and popsicles and popcorn, and actually popcorn's a whole food. But I eat potato chips and pretzels, and I do all that. I eat candy bars like everybody else does. I just try to make sure that I hit my calorie targets. So yeah, I really am feeling compassion here for Mary. She says something interesting. she said something interesting here that is interesting to me. She says, I have had for my entire life, this is for me, overeating meets my need for predictability because it is a behavior I have had for my entire life, and relief because the focus on food keeps me from experiencing my feelings to their fullest extent. You know, what an odd statement to make. And this is actually quite common in sort of the diet world, which I'm not as focused on anymore. The focus on food keeps me from experiencing my feelings to their fullest extent. Well, I'll tell you what. I have a feeling she feels a lot of anger and sadness, and I think she's fully feeling those feelings. That's for sure. Because, you know, the struggle is real when it comes to being overweight. And the fear is real. I mean, I'm sure Mary McKenzie has problems with high blood pressure, maybe high blood glucose, maybe high blood cholesterol, and I'm sure her doctor is just pounding on her, trying to get her to change her eating habits. So, I mean, that is a struggle. That fear, I'm sure she's feeling fear and anger and sadness. Yeah, I'm sure she's feeling tons of feelings. You know, I also want to push back a little bit about this idea about how it's important to feel feelings. Now I'm sort of stepping back into my psychology, into my world of psychology. You know, I'm not sure I don't think there really is any kind of rule that says that you have to, you know, the point is almost nonsensical. I mean, people feel the feelings that they have, and it's not like they feel them more or less. And whether that's virtuous or not, or healthy or not, I'm not sure is even material. Is there, let's say, for example, let's say sadness. In order to get over a sad event, must you feel loss to a very intense feeling of loss in order to get over, say, something you cherish and value? I mean, must you feel that loss? You know, there are other ways to get over losing things of value. I mean, feelings of sadness is one, but there are other ways, there are other strategies. You know, it's not necessarily important for you to feel every feeling at very large intensities to have an emotional life. You know, so I'm not necessarily all for that. I mean, if you can get through your life and only feel what I'd call minimal and marginal intensity emotions, then that's great. That's fantastic. That means you're really receptive and responsive to, you know, your values and what's important to you and what gives you your life meaning. Go for it. You know, we don't all have to sort of be on a scale from 1 to 10 always experiencing emotions level 10 to experience emotional health. In fact, I don't think that experiencing emotions of level 10 is necessarily healthy at all. Honestly, the healthiest persons I know, the mentally healthiest persons I know, don't necessarily go to emotional extremes like that. And I wouldn't necessarily want to call that any kind of virtuous or healthy behavior, to be emotionally extreme. Yeah. So anyway. And, you know, how much you feel an emotion is a subjective notion anyway. You know, a person can only describe how they feel based on maybe their experiences in the past with those emotions. So anyway, very interesting passage from Mary. Thank you, Mary, for that contribution. I appreciate that. So I figured I'd take some time out, maybe answer some questions, and go from there. I was thinking for a moment, maybe it'd be a good idea to talk about diet and nutrition. Well, I think I've spoken briefly about diet and nutrition from my perspective. Really, I think it's almost a value neutral type thing. If you want to stay alive, there are just certain things you have to do. You've got to drink a certain amount of water, got to breathe a certain amount of oxygen with certain proportions, and the same is true with food. Yeah, our food environment right now is really a challenge. And really, I would say that the food right now is just really, really tasty, right? It's really good to eat. It's really satisfying. And it tastes great. And the calorie densities are high. I think really that's the biggest issue with today's food. It's just that the calorie densities are high. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have such a good tasting food that is low calorie? I mean, imagine then you could eat as much food as you wanted, have all the enjoyment that you would even care to have, and not overeat. Overeating just means you eat too many calories. It just so happens that right now there's a lot of high calorie density food out there. There's chocolate is a good example. You're welcome to have as much chocolate as you want, so long as you hit your calorie targets for the day and don't exceed them. Yeah, I think that's it. It's just the prevalence of high calorie density food. Look at the Japanese. The Japanese do so well in their culture because culturally, when it comes to food, they eat low calorie density food. They eat a lot of soups with broth. That lowers the calorie density. They eat a lot of rice. Rice is a low calorie density food. They eat a lot of vegetables. Vegetables are also low calorie density. And what's wonderful is that rice and vegetables and broths can be really satisfying, really tasty, really enjoyable. And that's the secret. That's the secret to maintaining weight, according to the Japanese. Their society and culture sort of encourages that kind of low calorie density eating, and for the most part, they're not overweight. It's just that simple. So here's the solution. Here's the solution to America's eating problems. Just lower the average calorie density of foods that people eat on a routine basis. Easy. Now, it's kind of interesting how a lot of people throw in this idea of how exercise is so important in losing weight. And I would say that losing weight and exercise are only about 80%. Well, they're not highly related because it takes a lot of work to exercise enough to influence your weight. Yeah. The human body is very efficient. And I think exercise has only a minimal effect on a person's weight. Honestly, it's minimal. I mean, for example, I can eat a McDonald's Big Mac, right? And how long would it take me to eat a McDonald's Big Mac? Probably 4 minutes, let's say. 5 minutes to eat a McDonald's Big Mac. Now let's say that Big Mac's 600 calories. How long would it take me to exercise off that 600 calories? Well, basically, I know that, say I wanted to walk it off, I'd have to, I know from experience that I can burn about 100 calories when I walk a mile. So that means I'd have to walk 6 miles. 6 miles is 12,000 steps. Now, a lot of people, even throughout the entire day, their entire living day, do not walk 12,000 steps. So if I just had 5 minutes of my time eating one Big Mac, I would have to do much more than a day's exercise, than a day's amount of walking, than a day's quantity of walking, and walking 6 miles. That's a huge amount of calories in that little sandwich that I can, and you know what? I could train my belly to accept not just one Big Mac, not just 2 Big Macs, but maybe even 3 Big Macs at a meal. I'm serious. That means in one meal, I could eat, I could, I could, I could take in enough calories that it would require me 3 full days to burn those calories walking, with walking exercise. I mean, and I could eat those 3 Big Macs in 15 minutes. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea of how, exercise could be helpful, but it's only marginally effective at reducing your weight. I'm serious. Weight reduction is mostly about reducing your intake of calories. That's how you play the game. And in order to do that, you need low calorie density foods, right? Eat that popcorn. Don't eat the chocolate candy bar. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to some questions for the day. Question number 128. Have you ever had long hair? And the answer to that question is no, I've never had long hair. It's always been about this short. I grew up Christian, and so that meant that my outward appearance was very traditional, and I don't think I could really ever do very, very long hair. Like, imagine me with hair down to my shoulders. It's almost laughable for me to consider that. So no, I think I'll have short hair for the rest of my life. And I'm good with that. Question number 129. Do you think being bald is attractive? Totally. There are a lot of attractive men out there who are bald. Look at Patrick Stewart, who is the captain on Star Trek The Next Generation. He's like one of the sexiest dudes out there. And he is totally bald. So, yeah, it's easy. I think it's relatively easy for bald people to be attractive. At least for bald men to be attractive. But I don't think I'll ever have that problem. My dad still has a good head of hair. And so on my mother's side, I've got relatives with full heads of hair too, so I don't think that'll be a problem for me. So, question number 130. What is your favorite hair color? Well, say in the opposite sex people, perhaps? Well, for me, my favorite hair is probably blonde and redhead. They're both basically up there. Red hair and blonde hair. But that's not to say that I don't enjoy, raven black hair or chestnut brown hair. When it comes to an person's overall appearance, the hair color doesn't matter so much. But I do have some preferences for blonde and red hair. Okay, question number 131. Have you ever dyed your hair? And hey, check this out. No, well, first of all, this isn't dye. This is like a washout hair coloring product. So, and as a matter of fact, I did dye my hair, but almost unintentionally one time. So when I was a boy, like a teenager, I lived in Taos. And my mom bought this spray-in product called Sun-In. Basically, it's like a hydrogen peroxide solution, and it makes your hair go a little yellow or orange. And I did that when I was a kid, sort of not knowing what I was doing. And it was interesting. I don't know if it... All right. So yeah, I don't know if it had any real impact to dye my hair like that. I think I just had like orange hair for a little while, and then it eventually all grew out, so that wasn't a big problem. All right, next question. Question number 132, have you ever had braids? Well, no, I haven't, because my hair has never been long enough to have braids. Question number 133, would you prefer good looks over higher intelligence? Well, I guess they're talking about, say, in a romantic partner. Good looks over higher intelligence. Well, I think I would prefer a balance of the two. But here's the thing about intelligence. I mean, just raw intelligence is not necessarily attractive. like, like artificial intelligent android level of intelligence by itself is not necessarily attractive. But if I bring it down to the human terms, the question is actually a pretty challenging one. I guess I would prefer intelligence, higher intelligence. And I mean, when I say intelligence too, I mean lots of different kinds of intelligence. I'm interested in emotional intelligence, social intelligence, physical intelligence, like, how should I say, the ability to move, coordination. Yeah. Question number 134. Are you afraid of heights? Well, no, I'm not really afraid of heights. Now, do I get a little bit queasy sometimes when I look out the window of a very tall building? Yeah, sure. Or maybe I look when I'm at the top of a large staircase, if I look down, do I get queasy? Oh yeah, I sure do. So yeah, I have the same feelings as everyone else does. Now, I don't necessarily have the feelings of being afraid of heights, though. So, I would be okay with, say, traveling to the top of the Eiffel Tower and looking over. That'd be fine. Or climbing to, sort of taking the elevator to the top of the Empire State Building, that would be fine. I'd have no problems with that. When I travel, it's fine. It's okay for me to travel by plane. I don't necessarily prefer it, but I will certainly travel by plane. Next question. Question number 135. Do you enjoy flying? Okay, well, I did address that a moment ago. Do I enjoy flying? Sure, I enjoy flying as much as anyone else. But here's the thing. For me, flying is more like a chore, right? It's a task. It's all about getting the plane ticket and getting to the airport and then walking to the hangar or wherever the plane is, and then flying, and then just sitting in that chair for hours on end and having the peanuts. It's not something I cherish. It's not like, for me, it's kind of like a chore. It's not like flying for the sake of flying, and flying is fun. When I was a kid, flying was fun. It was something new, enjoyable. But as an adult, flying is just like hopping in a car and, making the best of it while you're there. Now, I love to look out the window, sure, and see the wonderful landscapes and the sunset and the clouds. Such a unique experience. But I wouldn't say that unique experience by itself sort of overshadows all the rest of the logistics related to flying. So, anyway. So do I enjoy flying? Yeah, to an extent. But, it is just logistics. Next question. Do you buy clothes very often? No, I don't. Although recently I did have a haul here with some hats that I bought, and I recently purchased some jeans, and I bought some slacks. So I did do some shopping recently, but it's not. I don't do this kind of shopping all the time. It's actually fairly rare. So the answer to that question is no. I don't buy clothes very often, and my clothes closet is, it's pretty packed, but it's not super packed. It's mostly packed because I just am loath to throw stuff away or to donate it to the Goodwill. It's more of a. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have the amount of clothes in my closet has very little to do with how much new garments I put in. It has more to do with how few garments I take out. All right. So, next question. Do you consider yourself a reliable person? And my answer is yes. I think of myself as very reliable. Now, I'm not always reliable 100%, but I'm pretty darn reliable. And what you can get assured for me, though, is that if somehow I change my mind or things aren't working out, that I'll let you know before too long, so that you can make adjustments in your schedule. Question number 138. Are you generally proud of your accomplishments? Yeah, I think I am generally proud of my accomplishments. Yes, I am. And now, what are my main accomplishments in life so far? That's another question entirely, but one of my accomplishments is getting my bachelor's degree. That was an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. I'm proud of getting my master's degree. I'm proud of getting a job and keeping a job. Definitely, I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of the work that I do. So those are my accomplishments. In terms of health, I'm proud of having lost weight and been able to maintain that weight. I'm proud of going to the gym and working out regularly. I'm proud of that. I'm also proud of how I manage my money, even though I'm not that, I'm not overly detail oriented regarding how I spend my money. But somehow I have a knack for not getting into too much debt, which is nice, and not overspending and using my credit card. I don't think I've maxed out a credit card for decades now. So so it's been a long time. So I'm glad for that. Next question. Question number 139. Were you popular in high school? And yeah, I think I was popular in high school. But I wasn't necessarily one of the popular kids. I was just well liked, I think. I think there was a lot of goodwill between me and my fellow students. And I think I was one of the signature students in class. One of the notable students in class. Why? I don't know. I think I was just friendly. In fact, you know what? Let me go into a little bit more depth about that. Since you're in high school now, all right. So where I really shined in high school was in my homeroom, which was my honors English class. And what's really wonderful about my honors English class is that same crew of kids went to honors English from their freshman year to their sophomore year to their junior year to their senior year. And so I was basically in the same class of kids for 4 years. I had that same class. And so I saw the same kids over and over again every day. And so that was a really good, important experience for me. It's important to have that camaraderie and familiarity with a group of people, I think, in your high school years. So there was a lot of that familiarity bred like a camaraderie between us as a group. And so, we were in things together like academic decathlon and other trivia competitions. And so it was helpful. You know, I think I was, what was nice about that 4 years is I was able to keep tabs on a fairly large group of similar kids to me, and that really helped me develop bonding with some friends. In fact, when I go to Albuquerque, the people that I go to are my old high school buddies. College, I went to big colleges, and so in every classroom I had a different set of kids, and so it's harder to breed that kind of familiarity with, you know, people your age, because there's too much churn. Churn means there's just too much mixing. And it was great to have that mixing, but in order to build stable, lifelong relationships, you sort of have to hang out with them over a period of time consistently, with high enough frequency. And if that doesn't happen, those kind of relationships don't gel. So, anyway. One of the interesting things about me when I was in high school, in particular, was that I was kind of the class clown. And I've sort of gotten a little bit more serious since then. But yeah, I was the class clown back then. And you know what? I'm actually proud of that. Being the class clown for at least a little while, I was willing to accept the attention of my teacher and my fellow students. And somehow I didn't get into too much trouble, which is just kind of amazing to me. Like, I didn't get expelled. I know. It was never that bad. Thankfully, it was a group of good kids that I was around. And so I never did anything like that was destructive. Although I was somewhat disruptive during class at times, saying jokes and stuff. Anyway, I'm almost kind of glad that I'm not that way anymore. But I actually also kind of miss it a little bit. Okay, so what's the next question? Question number 140. Did you ever have a secret crush? Well, of course I did. I think everyone does. And yeah, in high school in particular, I had many. So I think that's just like everybody else. Yeah, I had a lot. Question number 141. Have you ever had a secret admirer? Well, no. I think I've had admirer. Well, you know what? Maybe I have had a secret admirer. But how would I know? They would have to tell me in some way. So I've never had a secret admirer in the sense that someone sort of indicated that they liked me and they kept their name anonymous at the same time. Well, you know what? Maybe I did have something like that. There was maybe one or two experiences like that I had. Now it's coming to mind that there was someone who preferred to be anonymous, but I kind of knew who they were. So I have received anonymous gifts before from people who admired me. And I think I was able to quickly figure out who it was. So I mean, does it count? Does it count if they wanted to be anonymous but couldn't because they couldn't necessarily hide their feelings? No. They were not successfully anonymous. Okay, so question number 142. Are you generally happy? And you know what? The answer to that question is yes. I am generally happy. And you know what's kind of funny? I was just thinking about this the other day, that I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Why am I generally happy? It goes without explanation. I have no idea. I have no idea why it is the case. Why is it the case? I can't explain it. I'm not sure why in particular. It just happens to be an attitude that I exude. You know, it comes forth out of me. As I express myself to others, it just comes forth, and it's like I have nothing to do about it. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But you'd think that there would be like reasons that are foundational to this happy life. Like, oh, he's got a lot of reasons to be really happy. And I do, of course, have a lot of reasons to be happy, but often, just like everyone else, I have a hard time acknowledging and accepting and understanding them and appreciating them, having the sufficient level of gratitude for them, just like everybody else. And even despite this ingratitude, I'm still generally a happy guy, so I don't quite get it. Okay, question number 143. Are you a good puzzle solver? Well, that entirely depends on what kind of puzzle I'm looking to solve. Though I would say, in general, I don't know. It depends on the question. It depends on the puzzle. So I don't know if I'm a good puzzle solver or not. I assume I'm just as good as anyone else. Though I do have a few personality traits that make puzzle solving a little bit easier for me. And number one is that I tend to be patient. And I also tend to be quite disciplined and persistent. These are just parts of my personality. I've got grit, right? I've got grit. I'll set up a habit, and that habit will be in stone, right? For years and years and years. I've got grit. I've got a self-control, high levels of self-control. And the pairing of patience and self-control, which are essentially brother and sister to one another, those traits, means that I can solve problems that other people don't have the patience for. It doesn't mean that they're just not smart enough. I'm sure they could all solve these problems too, but I'm just so diligent that I actually do solve them. And I have a feeling that it's only within certain contexts that I'm a good problem solver. Just like everyone else, I struggle in some contexts to solve problems, and that raises an interesting question. In what contexts do I have trouble solving problems? Well, I'll tell you what. When it's come to math recently, I've lost patience with it. Now, my minor in college was mathematics, and of course I've got a bachelor's degree in physics. So you'd think that mathematics is something I can tolerate and enjoy and act and solve problems with patiently. But I've actually become, and this is actually a fairly recent phenomenon, like within the last year or so, I've become somewhat impatient regarding math. Now, this is my impatience. This is I'm talking about relative impatience. I have a feeling that compared to most, I am extremely patient when it comes to mathematics. It's just that, at least for my own standard, I'm dropping off a little bit in that area. And here's the thing. Well, anyway. So to answer the question, am I a good puzzle solver? I would say generally yes, but it would depend on the puzzle. For example, logic puzzles, I don't have a lot of patience for. I just don't. And what that means is that games like chess, where at times I used to be somewhat enthusiastic about in my past, not so much anymore. The logic puzzles, I don't know. For me, puzzles and games are all about fun, right? And fun is something that's to be had in the moment, spontaneously, in an unscripted way. It's not about searching through infinite combinations of different choices and paying attention to them all in your mind, sorting through the logical possibilities. I'm sorry, I'm done sorting through the logical possibilities and calling that fun. All right, next question. Question number 144. What is your most awkward moment? My most awkward moment. Well, I'll name a few awkward moments and you be the judge, right? So, of course, being as old as I am, I've had my share of awkward moments. One moment was when, and I don't know if this isn't good or bad, it's just what happened. I remember when Sheila and I were having a family dinner. We were about to be married, and our families came together for dinner, and I don't know, my dad spilled his water on the table, on the dinner table. I felt a little awkward during that time. But it was handled well and neutrally, and eventually we went on, and my dad has got a lot of social intelligence, and everything went well. So I wouldn't call that wasn't necessarily the most awkward moment, but it was an awkward moment that comes to mind. Let's see, what's another semi-awkward moment? I had another one in mind. Well, I actually haven't had a lot of awkward moments. It actually has taken me some time to think about and struggle with this question. Have I had any other awkward moments? Well, just like everybody else, they happen, and then I dismiss them. Okay, what's the next question? Have you experienced an unusual situation? I can't even begin to answer that question. Next question. Are you a gambler? And the answer is no. I am not in the least a gambler. In fact, I've been to Las Vegas once or twice, a few times maybe, a handful of times. And for me, it's always a struggle to put the tokens or the coins into the gambling machines. I'm always asking myself, what am I doing? What is this all about? I have really no compulsion to put money in a blackjack machine or even play blackjack at a table. Have I ever done it? I don't think I've ever done it. I've played poker. Now, I've played poker with friends, and it's just, I'm not a big poker player or a card player. I just find it uncomfortable and logically challenging. For me, it's a math problem, and I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Sorry. So, no, gambling is not a problem for me. The odds about whether one thing is going to happen or another thing, like whether a horse wins a horse race or whatever, is just not compelling to me in the least. Whether one baseball game or basketball games, one team's going to lose or another, again, not compelling to me in the least. I just don't care. And I'm certainly not willing to wager money on the outcome. Okay, so next question. 147. Do you enjoy or have you considered investing? Well, yeah, I invest. I invest using, investment products from my workplace. And the question is, do I enjoy it? Again, I think this comes down to gambling. I have so little interest in investing. I'm so glad that computers are doing it. I say let the computer do it. Let the computer do the choosing of mutual funds. Let the computer do the... I got something in my eye, I'm sorry. Let the computer do the making the decisions for trading one stock or another. Let the computers do that. Again, for me, it's number crunching, right? You set up a set of rules and you follow through the rules. That's not fun. Next question. Question number 148. Do you consider yourself a good liar? No, I don't consider myself a good liar. I'm terrible at it. I really am not very good. I've got a lot of nonverbal tells. Next question. Question number 149. Are you judgmental or upfront? Are you judgmental or upfront? Okay, this question is not a well-formed question. Are you judgmental? Well, I think like everyone is, I think we all are a little judgmental. Now, some people are really judgmental, and I'm not that kind of person. I'm not super duper judgmental. But I am somewhat judgmental, just like everybody is. Now, am I upfront? I tend to address ideas and subjects indirectly. I think that would be standard. I think I can be upfront, and I am upfront when it comes to, say, neutral questions, neutral ideas. I don't know. It would depend on the context. It's really hard to make a generalization that is that broad. Am I upfront? I don't know. Question number 150. Are you introverted or extroverted? Well, for me, I can actually play both sides of the field. I'm perfectly content to be introverted, and I'm more than willing to be extroverted when the situation calls for it. I can play both sides. I can be content and alone, and I can be gregarious. And it's really nice to have that option. I know that there are people who are just gregarious and they can't spend any time alone. And I know people who are alone and they just can't be with other people and can't express themselves and can't talk. And so thankfully I can play both sides of the field, and I can do it really effectively. I can do both. And I'm actually really proud of that. It also makes me a little bit more unpredictable, because I don't know from day to day whether I'm going to be gregarious this day or going to be separating that day. So it's kind of interesting. Question number 151. Do you enjoy the spotlight, or do you like to remain in the background? Actually, both. I do enjoy the spotlight, and I enjoy being in the background. It just depends on the context and what I want in the moment. So yeah, I enjoy both. I have periods of time where I enjoy being in the spotlight, loving it. But then being in the background is fine too. Question number 152. Well, basically, I'm going to wrap this up. And I just want to say thank you for spending this time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. I am going to go to the Troye Sivan concert with Kim down in Los Angeles. What is it? The day after tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow? So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be doing for Halloween. I haven't really decided. So if you want to do something together, just give me a ring, send me a text or something, and I might just text you what I'm wearing and give you an idea of what I'm doing for my Halloween. Probably the day of, just letting you know. But I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope that things are going well for you. I want you to know that I love you and cherish you, and that I care for you, and that I love you just the way you are, and that I'm here for you anytime you need or want some support, or you have a desire to reach out. I'm here. I'm basically living in the same place. I've got the same telephone number as always, so my mailing address has basically always been the same. So I'm available. And I'm looking forward to the day when you get more online and get an email address and maybe get a Facebook, and so we can do some more electronic interfacing. All right? I'll talk to you later, girl. Have a wonderful day. Peace and out.